Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Market Close. It is Thursday, October 24th, 3:46 p.m. And folks, Tesla is having its best day, it seems like, in the past 9 years. Originally, it was since 2021. I looked at some other stats, and it looks like actually the day that Tesla is having today, right now, in front of our eyes, up 22.6%, 262, up $48 on the day, is one of the best days that Tesla has had since 2013. $840 billion market cap. Yesterday, it was a $680 billion market cap. So you're talking about $160 billion of market capitalization that has been added to this company simply because they beat really pretty much every expectation, whether it was gross margins, whether it was Cybertruck gross margins, whether it was operating income, whether it was production in H1 2025 for the next gen vehicle, everything you could imagine. There were no stones left unchanged. And that's why the entire street is waking up right now and buying a bit of their stock. So we'll talk about Tesla. It's up right now at 262. Congrats to all shareholders that are long this stock, that have had this stock for a long time. This is one of those days where you have done phenomenally well. Also, big congrats to people who bought the 230 call expiring October 25th, because you're up like almost 2,000, not 2,000%, but about 1,500%. If you bought the 250 call, you're up almost 2,500%, which is pretty damn incredible. So we've got a couple of things going on today. Number one, we're going to talk about Tesla, talk about the macro, see what we got going on. Number two, we've got a bunch of different earnings reports today. After the bell, we've got Capital One, big in the financial space. That'll be very important. Texas Roadhouse, if you own the food and beverages spaces, given what we saw with McDonald's and Starbucks, food and beverages, a little bit more high intensity right now in terms of media coverage. So we'll see what Texas Roadhouse says. And then we've got L3 Harris. So L3 Harris, defense contractor, we've got their earnings. On top of that, I think at 410, 415, we've got Alex Karp, CEO of Palantir, company that we might know a little bit about, with L3 Harris CEO on Cnbc. And so we'll see what they have to say about defense technology, their defense partnership, and overall what they're doing. L3 Harris, if you're partnering with Palantir and you have a interview the a couple hours after your earnings, I would imagine they're going to have a good earnings. I don't know what's going to happen to the stock, but I would imagine they have somewhat of a good earnings in terms of the results they're going to put out, which is why they are even agreeing to do this entire interview. On top of that, I will have Roy and Tannor join me today on the show. If not Tannor, then definitely Roy, in about 40 minutes to discuss the Robinhood Summit. So they were both at the Robinhood Summit, and they will be joining the show today to discuss their experience, what they thought about it. We'll also ask them about SoFi, given SoFi has had an incredible day as well. SoFi right now, where is SoFi? 1092, so not holding that $11 level, which is okay. I mean, it was a good run in the morning. The fact that it got up to 1130 just means it has the juice to be able to get there into the future. And I would assume after good earnings, SoFi can continue to maintain momentum. I think the shorts are very scared of SoFi right now, so good earnings would really get the shorts to cover. So we'll get their thoughts on what's going on with SoFi and their experience at the Robinhood Summit. On top of all of that, you've got Bitcoin, by the way, TSLL, up 45%. These single leveraged stock directional ETFs are pretty incredible when you have a big move to the upside. Bitcoin as well, back above 68,000, trying to make its way to 68.5, which is nice because in the morning we were right below 67. So nice to see kind of the market moving on pretty much all cylinders, and we're getting some nice momentum. So there you go. It says it looks like a mid is frozen. Okay, so for some of you, maybe the stream is frozen. For the rest of you, should be okay. I have the stream playing on my iPad right here, and it should be all right. If it is frozen, I would refresh, and hopefully that does the trick, and we should be good to go. All right, so let's talk about Tesla. Yeah, if it's still having a connection, refresh, because I'm having it on my iPad and it's okay. So it might just be a simple thing as refreshing, which would help it. Keeps freezing for me. I've refreshed 4 times now. That's weird. I'm playing it on my iPad. My iPad has nothing to do with my stream. It's just a totally different, like a way to stream the stream. So I don't know why that's happening. John said I had to refresh and it was good. Okay, yeah, so refresh. Hopefully it figures it out. That is still in India. The internet in India wasn't that bad, to be honest. It actually wasn't that bad. I thought it would be worse, but we only lost power like once, and when we lost it, it was for like 2 minutes, and then it came back. So it was a lot better. Okay, so Tesla. Let's talk about Tesla. This is the biggest move for Tesla that we've seen in a pretty long time. Again, it looks like in the past, since 2013, we have not had a move that's happening the way that's happening with Tesla. So what is the reason for this? It seems like, again, the market is coming to the conclusion that when it comes to real world applications of AI, there are very few of those companies that exist. NVIDIA is the I guess, real world application of AI, but it's not really the application. It's the infrastructure that makes AI possible via their GPUs. And the big question with NVIDIA is like, all right, do they have the demand over the next decade to make sense of the multiples and the market cap that the street is giving them? And so far, at least for 2025, even if we don't know for 2035, the multiples make sense because the demand makes sense. TSM earnings is a proxy to NVIDIA. Jensen Huang was with Mukesh Ambani today in India talking about all the different market opportunities that exist across the entire world. So the NVIDIA story is kind of set in stone. The Tesla story has not been set in stone because Optimus theoretically is not really anywhere near in terms of being manifested in like something they could really sell. FSD is still far away in terms of the robotaxi for production. So the only thing you've got left is a narrative and the car business. And so I think Dan Ives pretty much hit it on the head when he said today that the story of Tesla was a gross margin story. Tesla needed to prove that gross margins have bottomed, car production is up, and that car production being up would lead to an even greater surge of deliveries, which is the bread and butter of their automotive business. And Elon saying we're going to get 20 to 30%, guaranteeing almost 2 million units or more than 2 million units. That is what I think the street is moving on right now, which is why the stock is doing well. Now, Tesla is up only 4% for the year, which to me is it's an elementary way of kind of looking at what's happened to Tesla, because if you got in at the bottom or if you DCA'd anywhere below 200, which it was at for a very long time, then you should be doing very well. But during the year, during the beginning of January, it was kind of at these levels. So at 259 right now, just getting above those levels, but still an incredible year from the bottoms, given all the macroeconomic tailwinds that Tesla had to deal with and that they're currently reconciling. In terms of Tesla's valuation, let's talk about that. So $800 billion market cap on Tesla, more than $800 billion at this point, 830, PE of 114, and a TTM PE of 73. I think if anyone is able to make the argument that Palantir maybe is not undervalued, but definitely is fairly valued, or even if it's overvalued, it's not like egregiously overvalued at a $97 billion market cap, the same can be made of an argument for Tesla, especially given Tesla is a much larger company than Palantir, and Tesla has a lot more room for growth just in terms of all the different services they have, energy, robotics, etc., in the current moment. So I think the valuation argument right now on Tesla is hard to make because the stock was, in the gutter for the majority of the year. It's not only breaking out from a technical perspective, but on top of that, if AI is the sentiment driver for the end of the year going into 2025, there's only a few names that really stack up to making you realistically think that they're going to be an AI juggernaut in the future. Palantir is one of those names, although it is still under-owned by the broader market. I think a lot of people figured that out earlier this year and last year, and that's when Palantir created a decent amount of wealth for people that understood that thesis. NVIDIA obviously is part of that thesis, and then I think Tesla is part of that thesis because you just don't see other names kind of showing that they can live up to the zeitgeist of culture when it comes to being a real world application of AI. Now, why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing this up because the only way to justify a 20% day to me, given most people would say an $830 billion market cap, 114 PE is overvalued, is that the street is reconciling that narrative and that narrative's coming together in a 20% move on the stock. I think the street is kind of waking up to the fact that, all right, so if this is the real world application, just like the street said, all right, so Palantir is the enterprise AI player, it seems like Tesla is the real world application of AI player in regards to FSD and robotics. And now that the car business is back on track, it is really hard to ignore what's going on in the company itself. And as a result of that, you get a 20% day, one of the best days since 2013. And it's just hard to kind of make an argument that Tesla doesn't deserve to get some of the levels that they're getting right now. So it's exciting. It's very, very exciting. And I would say congrats to shareholders because it's pretty damn good to see that this is happening. For those where the stream is still being a little jittery, again, all I can say is refresh. It's not my connection. I can tell you that for sure. I would see the Wi-Fi signal on my end. Maybe it is a StreamYard thing. And if it's a StreamYard thing, then, we can't really do anything about that today. But hopefully it should be good. Are you live streaming Karp on Cnbc? Yes. I don't know when he's going to be on Cnbc. Most likely at like 4:10, 4:15. So, it'll be cool streaming him, and we'll get to hear from him for the first time in like a month to see what he has to say. I don't think it's going to be exactly at 4 p.m. It might be at like 4:10, 4:15, but if it is at 4 p.m., then we'll stream him there as well. Someone said, who taught Amit the word zeitgeist? All right, I've known this word for a long time. Okay, I have some vocabulary skills, even though I can't say these words, but in terms of the actual zeitgeist of culture, when it comes to AI, it seems like Tesla is occupying people's minds, even though you got a lot of people thinking of it as a car company. The FSD presentation they gave on 1010, although lacking details, which those details have been resolved almost entirely to me on that earnings call that we heard yesterday. Now it's just a question of, can they manifest the solutions to AI that they're talking about? And it seems like they have the best chance out of everyone to do that. SoFi right here, 5% on the day. Lending Club, let's take a look at that. Lending Club is still, wow, Lending Club took a big of a hit. So it was up 18%. Now it's up 9%. That probably explains why SoFi went from up 8% to up 5%, as it kind of is following Lending Club. But Lending Club also having a great day off of a good earnings. Palantir also holding 43.50. It looks like investors are okay with Palantir inching up into that $44 level every day for the past like 7 days. Palantir got rejected at 43.50 and it came all the way back down to 42.90 by the end of the day, sometimes 42.70. Maybe they're kind of buying it up in anticipation of this Karp interview, and they're going to see what Karp says on CNBC today and what that means for the overall side of the defense business. Now, what's also interesting is the S&P has not really moved that much. The S&P is kind of flat. The S&P is 579. I mean, the S&P is actually down from 586 where it was a couple of days ago. So S&P really hasn't had that big of a move. The Tesla 20% move not really making a dent in the S&P, which also goes to show you that Tesla doing this independent of kind of moving the broader market is just a lot of people coming in, whether it's retail or institutional, and they're saying, screw it, we're buying the stock, because at this point, if they fix up the car business, you get all this AI momentum. It's hard to kind of justify not owning Tesla at that point. Let's take an update on money market funds. We should have an update today, given today is Thursday. Oh my. Okay, I got the update. Increase or decrease? What do you guys think? Increase or decrease? Put it in the chat. Increase or decrease? What do you guys think? What do you guys think? It's definitely an extreme number, in my opinion. Let's see how well you guys can read my face, and if you guys can figure out if it's a increase or decrease. Green. Well, I guess it's technically green in terms of the way you look at it. Okay, most people are saying increase. Well, you guys are right. It is green to the upside. 40 billion increased. Holy crap, dude. Last week, we got a decrease of 6 billion, and I was happy. I was like, yay, money's finally coming out of the money market. Now it's like total money market funds assets increased by 40 billion to 6.5 trillion. That is the highest in history, folks. The second highest was 6.47 trillion. Today, we are at 6.5 trillion. The fact that Tesla's up 20% on a day where in the previous 6 days, $40 billion either left global capital equity markets or they left savings accounts. They got out of the system and they entered into these money market funds, is pretty phenomenal. It means money shifted around today to figure out how to buy that Tesla dip. And Tesla was the beneficiary of that. So total retail, 2.6 trillion, institutional, 3.8 trillion. The fact that all this money is on the sidelines, again, usually it's 2 to 3 trillion. It has never gotten to even 5 trillion, much less 6.5 trillion. It does mean that there's more money on the sidelines. And if that money wants to chase towards the end of the year, then that money might end up buying a stock market that is a bit more expensive. It also could be election protection, as you guys are mentioning. It also could very much be election protection. All right, here we go. 4 p.m. Thursday, October 24th. The stock market is once again closed. Stock market's closed. Tesla ends one of its best days in stock market history, up 21.96% on the day. Just incredible. Just incredible. Alex Karp will be on CNBC soon. I will be streaming him, so I will get that immediately on CNBC once he's live. We do have to get through, so let's get into the earnings picture and see what we've got going on as well. So let's make a list real quick. We've got earnings for 3 companies that are pretty important today. So we got L3 Harris. Let's take a look at them. We got Capital One. That's a really important one. So Capital One. Capital One, I think, is going to crush it because all the financial institutions have done well. So that should be good. L3 Harris. And then we have a couple others. Texas Roadhouse. Okay, Texas Roadhouse, kind of flat after hours right now. Let's see what else we had. LHX, that's the ticker. Thank you. LHX, L3 Harris, they are also flat. And then we have Capital One. Their ticker is COF. COF. All right, here we go. So these are 3 names after hours that we'll see. Before we get to that, let's take a look at Max 7 and how they did on the day. Apple was down slightly on the day. Microsoft was up about 0.03%. Meta was up about 1%. Google flat on the day. Amazon up about 1%. Nvidia up about 0.5%. And then Tesla obviously up about 21%. Palantir ended the day at 43.56. Not too bad. 43.61 after hours. We got SoFi ending the day at 10.94. Robinhood ending the day at 27.22. And you got 27.24 after hours. Bitcoin as well, 68,141. Bitcoin not doing too bad as well. Also, Deckers. Yes, we do have Deckers. Deckers, this company will always have a special place in my heart because like 6 months ago, they beat Palantir for the S&P 500. I just remember, I think I was on the phone with Steve when the results came out. I was like, Steve, what the hell is Deckers? And he was like, a shoe brand. I was like, a shoe brand beat Palantir for the S&P? But then it's okay because Palantir got in eventually. So Deckers, Capital One, L3 Harris, and Texas Roadhouse. Texas Roadhouse up 2.21%. All right, so we got some movement on Texas Roadhouse. Let me know if you own any of these after the bell, and we'll see what they look like. So let's pull up some results. Texas Roadhouse. Let's see if we have anything right here. TXRH. We also have some breaking news from SoFi. SoFi is now giving you a 1% match on reoccurring investment deposits. Whoa, baby. SoFi just said, hey, Robinhood, we're about to compete with you. Look at this. Look at this. SoFi gives a 1% match on reoccurring invest deposits, which means if you put in $100, you'll get $1 into your SoFi investment account. There you go. So if you are a SoFi user, or if you wanted to be a SoFi user over a Robinhood user and you want it to be there because of the 1% match, maybe that is a reason for why you would go to SoFi. All right, so Texas Roadhouse is down 4%. TXRH, let me see if I can get some data on them. TXRH, let's see what we got. TXRH, let's see. I know Joseph Carlson owns this one, and he likes this one a lot. TXRH. Are the SoFi Hood match taxable? I don't think so. I think because of a certain law, it makes it not taxable. Texas Roadhouse down 5% now. So I could be wrong on that, but I don't believe it's taxable. Maybe I am wrong on that though. But from what I heard, there's a certain stipulation in the law that these types of bonuses are not taxable. Wow, it's down 8%. Okay, did something go wrong, or were they just priced for perfection? Texas Roadhouse, revenue $1.27 billion. Comparable restaurant store sales grew 8.5%. Net income up 32% at $84 million. That's not bad. EPS up 32.5% at $1.26. Restaurant margin went from 14.6 to 16%. That's not bad. And overall labor productivity, despite wage inflation, grew 4.7% versus 1.3%. I mean, these aren't horrible results. Down 4% right now. Deckers is up about 2%. Capital One is up about 1%. Texas Roadhouse down 4%. L3 Harris, no move on L3 Harris. Texas Roadhouse was up 50% into the print, I believe. Texas Roadhouse stock year to date, 51%. So it's again, this is a theme we're seeing with a lot of companies. Same thing with American Airlines this morning. They were up so much this year that you're just, you're getting a bit of profit taking on numbers that can't live up to being up another 50%, which is totally normal and totally fair. But it means that there's nothing wrong with the companies. There's just stock performances that have done very well in 2024. Karp is not live yet. Let me make sure. Is Karp live? Karp is not live yet. He's probably going to be live at 4:15. He's not live yet. I will let you guys know when he's live, but he is not live yet. Okay, so L3 Harris. Let's see if we can get results for these guys. L3 Harris. Let's see if they have the results. L3 Harris results are not out yet, so we don't have L3 Harris. Let me see if I can get Capital One. Let's see if we can get those guys. Their results are not out yet. We did get... No, we don't have them. Deckers, the street's expecting $1.2 billion in revenue, 1.24 EPS, but we don't have those numbers yet. Capital One, the street's expecting $9.87 billion in revenue, 3.76 in EPS. But we don't have those numbers yet. So we're looking for those numbers. DXCM down 15%. Okay, Dexcom. Dexcom had earnings today as well. I feel like I know this company, but I also feel like I don't. Dexcom down 13%. Is this the glucose company? Glucose monitoring company? Yep, this is. So Dexcom, they had a nasty fall last time too. Dexcon year to date is now down 40%. Yeah, so July 23rd, the stock went from 111 to 64. Today, the stock is going from 74 to 64. So it's going right back to where it was in mid-July off of an earnings, I guess, that wasn't that impressive to the street. So this one is the glucose monitoring company. Sorry, guys, for those that are trying to refresh the stream and it's not working. I'm not sure what's going on. Harmsy said, I had to clear history for the last hour, including my cache seemed to have solved the freezing issue. Yeah, it's weird. On my side, that's not happening at all on my iPad. And for other people, it's not happening, but that is very weird. It might be a YouTube lag. It's either a YouTube lag or a StreamYard lag today. That's causing that. As Doug says, we already front run the rate cuts. So if you don't deliver results, the market is going to claw back those gains very quickly. 1,000%. A lot of these stocks have run up before the rate cuts. And now that, we still need more rate cuts to justify the run up, those results have to be good. Deckers is up 6%. So let's take a look at their numbers. Deckers, again, selling a ton of shoes. Deckers is a consumer company, so that is a little bit of a understanding of the consumer. Capital One beat on revenue, 10.01 billion, beat on EPS at 441. Capital One stock is up 4%. Boom. Capital One stock is up 4%, 3.13%. This is a nice beat, dude. This is not a small beat. EPS. This is a 14, hold on. This is almost a 50-cent beat on EPS. A little bit more than that. About a 70-cent beat on EPS. This is pretty incredible. Again, the financials just had a great Q3. A great Q3. L3 Harris is up 3%. Looks like their results should be out in a second. But Capital One has a nice beat in the financials. Decker's earnings, they had 1.59 versus 124 EPS. That's a beat. Revenue 1.3 versus 1.2. That's a beat. Again, the trend continues. Almost 80% of the companies in the broader stock market, definitely in the S&P 500, are beating on their earnings. And if they're missing, it's a very slight miss. They're not egregious misses that we're having right now. Even Dexcom, although Dexcom fell 14%, Dexcom also a beat on revenue and on EPS. Slight beat, but they still beat on revenue and EPS. It's just sentiment or guidance is probably the reason why they came down. L3 beats and raises guidance. All right, so let me try to get L3. This is going to be an important one as they talk with Palantir today. Let's see. L3 Harris now up 2% after the bell. LHX. If anyone owns this one, let me know this as well. L3 Harris has a, 334 of EPS versus 326. That's a nice beat. So you got a EPS beat going on with L3 Harris. Then you've got revenue at 5.29 billion. That came in line with expectations. They raised fiscal year 2024 revenue to 21.1 to 21.3 billion and surpassed cost saving targets with their NEXT product. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. Wow. Now it makes sense why they wanted to go on CNBC today and sit with Alex Karp, because they're putting up some pretty amazing numbers. Look at that. 5.29 billion. Pretty much in line with expectations. EPS of 324 beating estimates of 326. L3 Harris is a company to give you a little bit of a dichotomy about how the stock market is treating Palantir versus other defense contractors. L3 Harris is a defense contractor. Their market cap is 46 billion and they're doing 5 billion of revenue. Palantir is going to do 730-ish million of revenue and their market cap is 97 billion. So the story of Palantir is so important to the stock market, because if that story wasn't there, you probably would not be getting the multiples that we're getting. But that's what we're seeing right now. And so that's why we're getting some momentum. I'm sorry for those that it's buffering on. It's not buffering on my side. I really don't know why it's buffering. I have no idea. No idea why it's buffering. I think it's a YouTube problem. It's or maybe do a different browser, a Safari versus Chrome or Firefox instead. That is really weird that it's happening. Maybe let me decrease the quality of this. So I'm going to go from high definition. I'm going to go from 1080 to 720. Let's do that. Maybe that helps a little bit right now. Maybe that helps a little bit. Okay, cool. So let's see what else we got going on. We have earnings results. Let's pull that out right now. Alex Karp is not live yet, but he will be live pretty soon. Let's get the other earnings that we are looking at right now.
Oh, down. Actually, excuse me. This is on a full year basis. Sequentially grew 2%. and 3% on an organic basis. On EPS, that was also a beat, a 2-cent beat here, adjusted. That was 45 cents versus 43 estimated. GAAP operating income, that was 15.3% of revenue. That did fall about 580 basis points compared to the prior quarter. We're still looking through this for any sort of guidance, guys. But you can see stock down sharply here, more than 13% after hours. Back over to you.
We've seen a lot of big moves in this name recently with earnings. Kate Rooney, thank you. L3 Harris earnings are out as well. And for that company, it's a beat and raise. The defense contractor's earnings per share coming in at $3.34 adjusted. That's versus estimates of $3.26 per share. Revenue of $5.29 billion. That was up 8%. It was slightly better than expectations. The maker of military radios and rocket motors for missiles reporting orders of $7.2 billion, a book-to-bill ratio of 1.4 times. L3 Harris raising the lower end of full year guidance, both for EPS and revenue. Now for revenue, $21.1 to $21.3 billion. For adjusted earnings, it's now $12.95 to $13.15 per share. Also increasing 2024 guidance for adjusted segment operating ratio to about 15.5%. You can see shares are up fractionally right now. But in just a few moments, we will be joined exclusively by L3 Harris CEO Chris Kubasik to break down those results, as well as Palantir CEO and co-founder Alex Karp. The two companies have also announced a new partnership, so we have a lot to get to. Jake, I'm going to come back to you on this one. We've been talking a lot about rotation into different parts of the market. And what do you find compelling, especially as we do start to get through this earnings season? And it really does seem to be a little bit of a case-by-case scenario for stocks across industries.
Yeah, I mean, this might be a little bit off consensus, but I think, healthcare is actually a sector that has, been a laggard. It's been beaten up over the last couple of years.
Okay, so we'll get to Karp coming up in a little bit. Still not on live yet. I'll let you guys know when he's live. It seems like some of you guys are saying you have multiple streams open, and the streaming issue that's happening on my stream is happening on other people's streams. So that is a YouTube thing then. That is a Google thing that's happening right now. But hopefully that gets resolved pretty soon. Okay, cool. So L3 Harris crushed, Capital One crushed, Dexcom, even though the stock is down, they did beat on the top and bottom. So the stock, is down for other reasons, but it's not like they're not hitting their numbers. Decker's crushed. Decker's up 8%. Decker's, by the way, I think they've had a hell of a year, which again just shows the breadth of this market. Decker's year to date, look at that. It's up 42% this year. So, I mean, literally you could have picked Decker's over Tesla this year and still outperformed. I mean, there's just massive different runs that are happening in different verticals and industries. And it's because companies are putting up results. Again, Decker is a pure consumer company. People have to buy stuff from their website or from their physical stores for them to make money. And the fact that they're beating on their numbers and raising their guidance, again, is pretty damn bullish. Texas Roadhouse down about 2%. They beat on the top and bottom line, but their stock was up more than 50% this year. So likely taking a little bit of a breather. Not bad. Again, earnings season after Tesla continues to be pretty damn incredible and showing the strength that we were all wanting to see into Q3. I mean, my biggest thing going to Q3 was just like, will we get the numbers that justify the momentum that we need to see? And so far, it seems like that's happening. Let's get an update on gold and commodities, and then we will keep going from there.
We can talk about the likely reasons, the surmised reasons. We have obviously big deficits domestically. There's a lot of capital flight out of unstable parts of the world. There's maybe even a catch up with Bitcoin, which has outperformed on most time frames. But you see the angle of ascent has been pretty steep recently. This is a 5-year chart of silver versus gold. I want to point out is silver's real vertical spurt here. And when that happens after a precious metals rally has been going on for a while, sometimes it means the overall rally is getting ready for a breather. You see these instances where silver decides to really make a run for it. I know a lot of folks will eventually find their way to silver. It's like, well, it kind of moves with gold and it's at 1/80th the price per ounce. Why not take a run? So this is, I think, a little bit of the backdrop. And then you have the mining stocks, which, depending on the time frame, have actually some catch up to do, arguably, to the underlying precious metal prices. Here you see this is an ETF, the Gold Bugs Index of gold and silver mining stocks. It's trailed on this basis, although you see in the last year or so performed very well. But there's always complications, right? You have operating costs, you have CapEx. Newmont Mining today was down 15% on some of those concerns about margins. It's not just a pure play, obviously, on the underlying metal price, Morgan.
This is fascinating. Gold, we know we've seen a lot of countries stockpiling as well in the face of either directly or in.
Who owns gold? Put in the chat if you've been loading up on commodities, gold or silver. Again, you guys know my uncle is pretty damn bullish on silver, and that's why I've started to look into silver. But and we had Paul Tudor Jones says he's long gold, long Bitcoin, long commodities. So put in the chat if you actually are allocating to commodities as part of your portfolio.
Indirectly, sanctions too. That's been part of the puzzle. And on the silver side, there are industrial use cases as well. But historically, there's always been this gold-silver ratio that everybody's sort of watched to have a sense of what pricing between the two looks like. And that does seem like in recent years it's broken down. Could that be restoring itself?
Yeah, I wonder if there's any kind of long-term mean that we're reverting to when it comes to that ratio. It's pretty hard to generalize about it. I don't necessarily know if this is what this process here of silver outperformance in the short term is trying to normalize for that. But arguably it might be. I don't know that there necessarily is a rationale on that in terms of, you know, annual production of each metal and whether in fact it stays in some kind of a self-correcting ratio or not. What I do find interesting though is, again, once you get the excitement finding its way through the silver price, sometimes you have to say, maybe it's time for the rally to take a little bit of a break.
All right, we got Karp. Here we go.
Be here.
All right, so I got to start with earnings because L3 Harris, you just also reported earnings, a beat and a raise. You're boosting your margin guidance as well. How much of this was a reflection of growing defense demand? How much of this is a reflection of the normalization of supply chains?
Yeah, look, Lauren, it was a great quarter. This is the 5th consecutive quarter we've exceeded expectations. And it really goes back a couple years to the strategy that we've laid out. Everything we're putting in place is starting to fall together. You know, when I look at our board, we have about half the board is new, half my leadership team is new. We brought all the employees back, did away with hybrid earlier this year. So I obviously have to recognize and thank them for a great quarter. Supply chain is easing. Our LHX Next initiative is working. So really everything is coming together nicely. We made 2 acquisitions that are aligned with the future of the warfare and national defense strategy. We divested non-core assets. So if you're going to be the trusted disruptor, you got to have change. You got to embrace change. We've had a lot of change, and you know, it's exciting. But the hallmark of the strategy is partnership. So I'm actually more excited to be on stage here with Alex to talk about our partnership than I am a great third quarter. So that's how I look at it.
So let's talk about this partnership. Alex, you've inked a number of them at Palantir. In recent months, even just Microsoft, Oracle. What does inking a partnership with another defense prime enable?
Well, first of all, delighted to be here. Congratulations on the quarter. You know, there's a lot of reasons to deepen our partnership and expand it, but primarily, actually, Chris, you know, he's a real disruptor. He drives innovation inside of his company. And then, quite frankly, he's better networked and understands the DC environment, certainly in a way that, you know, we may never. And so the combination of, and then, you know, what I think our nation needs is the America's best unifying around where we have a structural advantage, which is the integration of hardware and software. China and Russia are just not as good at software, and the integration of both allows you to produce more lethal technologies. So how do we move from passive defense to we scare our adversaries every day, obviously in a way that they can't replicate? And the obvious way you do that is you move to AI-driven targeting with ethical means that's going to require software with the most disruptive companies in DC, led by, you know, a quite inspirational leader. So, you know, we want to bring innovation to America commercially. Also, they're a massive commercial company, just purely. One of the things about L3 is that they're like, one of the things that unifies us is we're not really defense integrators. We're commercial companies that are patriotic. And so how do we get the best patriotic companies to produce the most lethal technology in the world for America and not for our adversaries? And how do we get it to the DoD in ways that are cheaper, in ways that the margins are better? And it's a great partner.
So how do you do that, Chris? And I think about, I mean, you're a defense prime on a number of programs, but you're also a subcontractor on some, like Titan, which Palantir is the software prime and the defense prime on. So what does this enable from your standpoint? How quickly can you develop these new technologies, next generation capabilities for the warfighter?
Yeah, well, as you and I have talked about, you know, the arsenal of democracy. So you go back to World War II, right, where the defense industrial base and the government worked collaboratively to build 300,000 airplanes, 85,000 tanks, and 9,000 ships to win the war. The future of warfare and the future arsenal of democracy is not more platforms, not more planes, ships, and tanks. It's the convergence of our leading edge hardware, software, and AI. So you mentioned Titan, a perfect example. I'm happy to prime, sub, merchant supplier. They're leading this. We're providing all the resilient comms, all the communication architecture, the communication hardware. There's another program, we talk about real-time targeting. We have targeting systems, think of those as the eyes for the warfighter, usually airborne platforms, and we can identify targets. We've integrated their AI. It lightens the workload for the warfighter. It increases the probability of detection, and you end up with a better result. So it's all about shortening the kill chain. And
what we've seen in Ukraine and in other places is the old ways of doing battle with like kind of hard, large systems that are not AI driven just cannot survive on the battlefield anymore. The Russians and our peer-to-peer adversaries are using electronic warfare. And so what you're going to have to do is deliver a cheaper, more accurate payload that is the convergence of AI, autonomous systems, and hardware. And that's got to be done then. And then you also have to produce at rates we haven't produced. So how do you get the manufacturing to work better? How do you get the supply chain to work better? How do you bring violence to our enemies while using ethical standards that the West believes in? So when do you attack? Under what conditions do you attack? Do you attack if there's civilians? How many civilians? In what area? What radius to schools? How do you make sure that the people we're hitting are our actual adversaries? How do you take out the dumb, but leave the intelligent generals alive that are kind of misaligned with their own country and take out the idiots, or vice versa? These things are really important decisions. And then for Americans watching this, Americans want to know that their dollar spent is a dollar well spent, whether that's in the DoD or any other place. So commercial entities, commercial companies that are also patriotic, or in our case, patriotic first and commercial equally, are important also for the integrity of our country. Every single person is wondering, okay, of course I want the best war system in the world, and I want something our adversaries couldn't replicate. What did it cost? What were the margins? Did it work? Is this something that is commercially viable? Would a commercial entity ever buy this? Those are very legitimate and important questions for the integrity of our society. And our partnership goes a long way to answering them, because quite frankly, there are some rooms where I'm more welcome, mostly people who are investors in Palantir, or often in many cases on the battlefield. And there are some rooms where they would rather talk to Chris, and I'd rather have them talk to whoever they'd rather talk to. We need to get the best product on the battlefield, and that often requires partnership.
What are the lessons learned, to the extent you can talk about them, about AI deployed on the battlefield? I think about the Middle East, where CENTCOM's using Maven. Palantir's involved in that program. It's now being deployed to other parts of the world as well. Just today, the White House issuing this national security memorandum on AI, talking about that, the fact that they need more AI deployed more quickly to the warfighter in military context, but that there need to be guardrails in place as well.
When we took over Maven, it was, AI was viewed as a joke. We took it over because Silicon Valley notoriously thinks the job of Silicon Valley is to get rich first and to not support our warfighters. So we took that over. And then what the DoD, and I'm very happy to see Jake Sullivan writing about, it's very important, has learned is the being able to identify and take out our adversaries in a way that's more precise, quicker, and more lethal than anyone else in the world can, gives us a structural advantage. A structural because it's quicker and better and safer and more violent, and it's also better because our adversaries just are not that great at doing it. And so what the U.S. has learned in Project Maven, what the Ukrainians have learned, what the Israelis have learned is this is a structural way both to integrate the base. So also it makes companies that are already valuable 5 times more valuable, because you can control what you buy, you control the manufacturing, you can control right down to where you can use fewer munitions, The munitions can be lower cost, but they have to be produced quicker. You can explain to your people. So all these lessons, what they're basically seeing is Congress, the DOD, the White House are saying, wait a minute, we have this amazing structural advantage and we need to take advantage of it. There's a banality that we forget. Almost everybody in the AI world is American. And then almost everyone who's doing kind of munitions and targeting at scale with hardware and software is also American. And another advantage we have is we can just transform our industry because we have exceedingly agile CEOs and work environments, unlike Europe. And so what we're basically seeing across the legislative and DOD is people saying, wait a minute, we need to do a lot more of this. We need to see partnerships. We need to see people working together, and we need to bring this to our warfighter. And that's exactly what that memorandum basically says.
Speaking of agile work environments, I mean, you just talked about the fact that you have this next program. One of the things in this release, you're going to hit your cost-saving targets a year early.
Right.
You are also a commercial customer of Palantir.
Absolutely.
As well. So when at a time where more broadly investors and company CEOs are saying, okay, application layer of AI, where's it going to go in my company? How am I going to deploy it? How much am I going to invest? And most importantly, what's my return on investment going to look like? What are you seeing at L3Harris?
We're seeing great progress. So we've laid out a transformation of the company. We call it LHX Next. First phase was really focused on cost takeout. We're going to meet those goals, beat them and exceed them. The second phase is transforming the company, right? And in the old days, you just blow up your system, spend hundreds of millions of dollars, and shut everything down for years. We have hundreds of systems, ERP systems, finance, labor, manufacturing. The Foundry product has the ability to extract the data, knit it together, and get it to us in real time. So we're getting data timely and accurate. We're able to make data-based decisions. It ultimately leads to a better company, more agile company, more profitable. It's been a great partnership. This is something that's going to change for the benefit of the shareholders and our customers.
Palantir, third best company, third best performer in the S&P 500, even though it's a new entrant. A lot of analysts don't necessarily fully understand, I think, what you do on all aspects, but investors certainly seem to get it, particularly on the commercial side. I realize there's been a reacceleration in the U.S. government business, but the commercial business is really what's propelling the stock. What are you seeing, especially as you do have these artificial intelligence platform boot camps and adoption levels?
Well, look, I mean, first of all, to your first, intelligent people learn from their mistakes and learn to realize when they made a mistake in the pattern. Everyone else becomes an analyst or an advisor. So, people have been saying we're overvalued for the last 20 years. People have been saying our products would make us profitable, that we would not be able to become a juggernaut, that we would not become GAAP profitable, we would not get on the S&P. And, keep saying that about us. We love it. It discourages people from doing anything like what we're doing, and we are winning. Now, why are we winning in U.S. commercial? Because we learned in the government that what makes AI valuable is the ability to manage algorithms or large language models. Every financial analyst, it wakes up in the morning and with notable exceptions that we really revere, wakes up in the morning and after they stay at Motel 6, they have a huge opinion about how to manage large language models. It's completely theoretical and idiotic. If you want to manage large language models or AI, the infrastructure that allows you to manage them is where the actual value is. The large language model is essentially a commodity that you can value and use depending on cost and veracity. And they completely don't get it. But you know who does get it? Our commercial American customers. And despite the fact that we barely have a sales team and that I'm providing my pontifications of truth, including America's a great country, which many of them don't like, our allies deserve protection, Israel is in the right, whatever is pissing them off, they're still buying the product. And the reason they're buying it is because our ontology and our AIP allow you to deploy and use AI in a way where it changes your margins, it changes your go-to-market, it changes your ability to kill or take out adversaries in a much safer way with much lower costs. And American companies are dynamic and interesting and run by some of the best people in the world, some of whom are much better at partying cooler than you'd ever imagine on TV. And they adopt. And so, it's like do you want to believe what the librarian says about a book, or do you want to go out in the world and see if it works? And we are in the business of making our commercial customers work. And sure, yeah, we have a ton of player haters. Keep hating on us. Yeah.
Okay, I was going to say, final question for both of you, really. I'm not going to get into the election specifically, but when you look out to 2025, no matter what that outcome looks like, what are the key areas, whether it's regulation, whether it's defense spending, whether it's something else, what are the key areas of policy that are going to need to be addressed?
Well, look, I've said it before, the whole ecosystem needs to be on a wartime footing, right? We need a budget. I've said before on the show, China and Russia don't have continuing resolutions. We need a budget. We need the DoD to award contracts quicker. I don't care if they're commercial or traditional defense. I think there's huge opportunities to allow our company and other companies to be treated as a commercial enterprise. Everybody in DoD and DC loves commercial companies. Put out the RFP, let us propose, make a decision, and let's move quickly. And then, of course, you know, we have all in industry have been building up capacity. There's not enough capacity in the defense industrial base for the demand that we need. So I think let's get a budget, let's make some awards, give us a chance to execute. I think the future is hardware, software, and AI. I think we're well positioned for the long term. I couldn't be more excited to be here with Alex and be a partner of Palantir.
So I obviously agree with what Chris said. I think for me, the most important thing any administration can do is articulate a patriotic message. America and the way we organize things is something we are willing to fight for. And then once you've articulated, we are going to fight for our way of life, a lot of decisions follow. And then how do you fight for it in the DoD context? Well, if hardware, software, hybrid AI is our advantage, then maybe you should look at like, okay, well, who are the people who do it? Okay, buying software and AI from somebody who's never built any system that's ever worked, or buying it from a PowerPoint, or not having a commercial vendor preference is literally suicide. So, you know, but the first thing is to say, and then I would start renaming things. It's like, I don't understand why we have a Department of Defense. We should have a Department of Offense. Like, you know, and the other, I personally believe like we have to have red lines, and then we should go ahead and violate them to show people how serious we are. Like, why do we wait till our enemies attack? It makes no sense. It does not lead to peace. You know, you have this famous thing, it's a paradox of thrift, where if you oversave, you get poorer, which every progressive learns. It's tattooed on our bodies. There's a paradox of violence. If you never use violence, the world gets more violent. And so we need patriotism and competence and a willingness to use violence. And I don't know why we wait till people get up and hurt us, kidnap us. And last not least, as I've said over and over, if you touch an American citizen, we will go after you. We'll go after your assets. We'll go after everything. We can keep on going for generations. We cannot allow people to just kidnap and kill Americans wantonly and then say we're going to have a memorandum at the United Nations, essentially an academic institution that pushes papers for despots. So we really need to change our footing on this. And by the way, we're in a position to do it because our economy is the strongest in the world. We're the only people producing AI. We have the best CEOs in the world, and we have the best warfighters in the world.
All right. Palantir CEO Alex Karp, L3 Harris CEO Chris Kubasik. Thank you both for joining me here on set.
Good to be here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Let's fucking go. This is why they want to hear from Karp, because when Karp goes on a rant, not to just talk to talk, but to talk to actually make an impact, make a point, he says something that gets you to freaking listen. I just want to play that last 2 minutes again of him actually being asked about the stock. It's a 2-minute rant that he goes on. It's one of those things. I think Doug said in the chat, you should listen to it every morning. I mean, talk about a wake-up call every morning. We'll listen to that. Then I'll get Tannor and Roy, who are backstage, and we'll talk about Hood and Sofi. But this 2 minutes, I think, kind of sums up what Karp's feel around the overvaluation narrative around Palantir and what he's talking about in terms of future trajectory of growth, specifically in commercial. That last sentence he said about Department of Offense versus defense, you just know he was cooking that up for the past couple weeks, and he was waiting to drop that. And it seems like today he ended up dropping that. So let's listen to those last 2 minutes again about him talking about the stock itself.
You know, it's like, do you want to believe what the librarian says about a book, or do you? A
little bit.
Our commercial discourages people from
business, but the commercial business.
First, you know, intelligent people learn from their mistakes and learn to realize when they made a mistake in the pattern everyone else becomes an analyst or an advisor. So, you know, people have been saying we're overvalued for the last 20 years. People have been saying our products would make us profitable, that we would not be able to become a juggernaut, that we would not become GAAP profitable, we would not get on the S&P. And, you know, keep saying that about us. We love it. It discourages people from doing anything like what we're doing. And we are.
This is similar to Karp saying, you know, the shorts are on cocaine. I mean, quite literally, he's on national television saying, you can keep talking shit. We don't care. We're going to win. This is the type of energy you need to become a generational company. Like, it might turn some people off, but for the majority of people that are actually invested in the stock, that have been invested for the past couple of years, this is what you want to see from someone who feels the company can be 10 times bigger than it is right now. And this is the energy you're getting from Karp right here.
Are winning. Now, why are we winning in U.S. commercial? Because we learned in the government that what makes AI valuable is the ability to manage algorithms or large language models. Every financial analyst wakes up in the morning, and after, with notable exceptions that we really revere, wakes up in the morning, and after they stay at Motel 6, they have a huge opinion about how to manage large language models. It's completely theoretical and idiotic.
This was needed. This was needed because, again, Karp's entire thesis is ontology over LLMs. OpenAI getting $150 billion valuation to basically create a commodity. This is the type of energy that's needed to get some analysts watching this interview to realize, wait a second, all of the value is in the ontology, not the commoditized LLM. And, you know, if more people wake up to that, I think that is very good for Palantir. If
you want to manage large language models or AI, the infrastructure that allows you to manage them is where the actual value is. The large language model is essentially a commodity that you can value and use depending on cost and veracity. And they completely don't get it. But you know who does get it? Our commercial American customers. And despite the fact that we barely have a sales team and that I'm providing my pontifications of truth, including America's a great country, which many of them don't like, our allies deserve protection, Israel is in the right, whatever is pissing them off, they're still buying the product. And the reason they're buying it is because our ontology and our AIP allow you to deploy and use AI in a way where it changes your margins, it changes your go-to-market, it changes your ability to kill or take out adversaries in a much safer way with much lower costs. And American companies are dynamic and interesting and run by some of the best people in the world, some of whom are much better at partying cooler than you'd ever imagine on TV. And they adopt. And so, you know, it's like, do you want to believe what the librarian says about a book, or do you want to go out in the world and see if it works? And we are in the business of making our commercial customers work. And sure, yeah, we have a ton of player haters. Keep hating on us. That's pretty damn incredible. That is a clip I think will be played for the next couple of days across the media landscape. Pretty incredible. Awesome stuff. I'll analyze it more. I'll be doing a daily Palantir episode today. So in probably 3-4 hours, I'll upload a video today on YouTube and we'll go deeper into that clip. Ladies and gentlemen, let's bring on two people onto the channel that haven't been on in the past couple of weeks to talk about two fintech stocks that are taking over the world. We've got Tannor from the Future Investing channel, and we've got Roy, Crossroads. What's up?
There you go. I was waiting for the hat.
Yeah. I won't wear my Alex Karp hat, but yeah, the Robin Hood cap. So market cap.
I love it.
No, that was before we get into these two fintech.
Yeah. What was your take on that rant, Roy?
I love Karp rants. Like, they are the best. So just I missed the first 5 minutes or so. But yeah, that's epic. I want to know where to short librarians, because I mean, like, that, not really, but no, I mean, like, that's why despite the valuation, despite the multiples, I don't know where the stock will go, in the next year or two, but over 10 years, I know where this company is going, and I want to be invested in this stock, and it will remain my highest conviction. I don't see any company, no matter how good Tesla is, no matter how amazing Robinhood is, which it is amazing, no matter how excellent SoFi and PayPal are, it's Palantir, man. I want to be there. So yeah, love it.
It was pretty exciting. I thought I was going to buy some shares there for a second. It was he is a hype god. I mean, honestly, it's incredible. That thing about the analysts going back to their Motel 6 and trying to understand AI at a 30,000 foot view is just hilarious, but also so true. It's like, you guys have no idea what you're talking about.
And that was the funniest thing. So Tanner and I were there at the Robinhood Summit, and there was like unicorns and super unicorns, I think was a segment. They had a lady from AWS originally and a couple other, or actually, I guess that one was two others. They had another panel also on AI. And like half the time I'm leaning over to Tanner, I'm like, it's Palantir.
Yeah.
They're talking Palantir. Not really, but this is what they need. They're like, oh yeah, how does AI become real? And I'm like, oh yeah, it's Palantir. Like obviously. So I'm just annoying Tanner the whole time. But I mean, analysts, not all of those were analysts, but they kind of get it. They know that there's something missing. There's something more that's needed for that ROI. They don't understand that it's ontology. They don't understand what Palantir really does. And so, yeah, they're going back to their hotels just trying to figure it out. And it works. That's the greatest thing is that Palantir offers proof of concept like right there immediately. You'll get to see the ROI and begin to understand it as it expands in your business. But that's not really why we're here to talk about. But no, that got the juices flowing.
That was pretty damn exciting. Okay, before we get into it, first of all, let me do this right now. Ladies and gentlemen, our friend Crossroads, after about 1 year, has officially done the thing, which is start a YouTube channel. So if you care about SoFi, Robinhood, Palantir, Macro, all that good stuff, please make sure to subscribe to Crossroads right there. I'll let him talk about his YouTube channel and kind of what he thinks about in terms of the content he's posting, but he's a good friend of mine and Tanner. He started really creating content on Twitter about 1.5 years ago, and now he's taking photos with Vlad and, you know, talking to all these high-level executives at different companies. So exciting stuff, and he's going to get into the YouTube game. So Crossroads, what inspired you to officially start the channel?
I've tried putting it off. I really have. Working on my dissertation. I got a meeting with my mentor tomorrow. Chapter by chapter, we're getting it done. And I met somebody at the Robinhood Summit, and probably no big spoilers, but I may have an interview with a certain somebody, but they prefer video much more than spaces. So I'm like, okay, I got to get this done. There's another CEO that I was talking to that seemed open to the idea, but a little bit hesitant on spaces. And I'm like, all right, I'll just get it done. So if you go on my channel, you'll see no content at all. So that means I've told no lies. It's 100% accurate there. As far as what the channel looks like, it probably will be like maybe 2 videos a week. I would expect no more than 3, especially while I'm working on the PhD, mostly on what I'm finding interesting in the market. And especially like covering earnings calls. So I would PayPal earnings and my 2025 expectations are likely going to be my first video here coming up next week. They have earnings on Tuesday morning. So yeah, thank you guys for the follow and the subscription. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and you're on a podcast every single week, so it's not like you're not talking on camera. So at this point, it's just on your own channel, you know?
Yeah. I'll probably end up doing with Tevis. I hadn't talked to him yet, but Bootleg Weekly we cover an array of different stocks that are moving in the market, and I'll likely do the whole like let's split the 100 viewers in half type of thing. I've not talked about it with Tanner and Tevis to see if they're willing to let my channel with 2 subscribers or however many has right now.
Probably more than 2 now.
Yeah. But 2 weekly podcasts live, and then 1 or 2 videos per week, likely pre-recorded. So nothing big, but I'll try to make everything meaningful. And I don't do very well at being succinct, but I'm going to try that. You know, I know that people's time is precious. And so if I can get a video out that's like 8 minutes or 10 minutes, other than the lives, that's what I'm going to try to do.
Yeah, and your voice is just a pleasure to listen to too. So I think people are going to tune in just for the voice. What is your PhD in? For those wondering.
I'll just share here. It's basically in Bible exposition. So I am. It's completely dissimilar to this, except in one respect, and it is basically through qualitative analysis, rhetorical analysis specifically, and you can see the narrative trend throughout whatever you're looking at, whether that's looking at the news, whether that's looking at media, whether that's looking at the Bible. And so that's really how I work as my own analysis is to look at those narratives, because that actually is what shifts stocks more rapidly. The fundamentals really give a ceiling and a floor, although it can always, go a little higher or lower than you expect. But yeah, it's tracing that narrative. So has nothing to do with my actual channel. It's fun for me. Doesn't even really help my job that much. A little bit, but yeah, I don't need it. I like it. So.
And you're finishing up the PhD this year.
I plan to do it this year. It's actually gonna be next. My previous mentor, he liked me so much he retired. So, so I had to start over with a new guy in the summer. He looked at some things and he's like, "Hey, before you were ready to defend, you need to go back and start from not really ground zero, but we had to shore up some things." And he was absolutely right. So it's a lengthy process. Probably be close to like 280 to 300 pages when all is said and done. There's a couple more chapters I still need to finish writing and some more revisions. So, yeah.
All right. I love it. Awesome stuff. Crossroads now on YouTube. All right. So before we get started, this segment was about the Robinhood Summit, and I wanted to get your take on that. But I think we do need to spend 10 minutes on a stock that you both have been covering religiously. Tannor, I think we got to give you the main stage here as well, because you've been taking the brunt of the beating on YouTube comments because this damn stock has not moved from $6 to $7. And you and I had a conversation literally a month ago. And the idea was, hey, dude, I felt it with Palantir, but once it goes up, things change. The media landscape change. People start thinking of your analysis differently. We know that SoFi was a good company. It's just the stock wasn't reflecting it. Same thing that was happening with Palantir. Now the stock is reflecting it. So what is your take on what's going on with SoFi? Why are we getting this $11 range? And what do you think is going to exist for the future for SoFi? We can't hear you.
Rate cuts. That's what it is. I mean, so essentially SoFi goes out and they look for people to give loans to. And that's usually not a fun topic because usually can only give out so many loans and then you can already see how much money they're going to make. So stocks usually cannot get to overvalued prices very often because you know essentially how much a bank is going to make. That's why they trade off tangible book value. With SoFi, it's a little bit different because whenever they originate a loan, they want to sell it. For the past about a year and a half during this rate hike cycle, they have not been able to sell loans, or at least not at a price that they want to. And it's been better for them to just hold it on their balance sheet. That is changing. Okay. They are going to come out with a quarter, this one coming up, at the highest gain on sale margin that they've ever shown. They're going to show an unbelievable amount of originations. And that's because they are going to get back into the cycle of originating and selling. And so you don't just need to, just get as many loans as you can to fill up your balance sheet. You can probably actually originate 3 times your balance sheet's worth because it's actually flowing out the door as well. And companies will pay for that. And so today was an exceptional day, breaking new 52-week highs because Lending Club last night just showed off their earnings, which is a very similar company to SoFi. And they said, hey, we are not only are we having asset managers buy loans, but we also have bank partners buying loans, and banks will pay a massive premium. So they actually come to the market and spend a lot more. So they're coming back at really great rates. And not only that, they also are believing that there's going to be even better forward flow for loans, meaning guidance is really good as well. So this is what everyone's excited about for SoFi, is not just the quarter that's going to happen, but they're also expecting really great guidance. Some people have been bashing on SoFi stock as the market tries to figure out whether or not they're a bank or a fintech or tech company or something along these lines. But I think it'll be sort of a hybrid multiple of having a bank, but not only a regular bank, but a very fast growing originate to sell style bank. And then on top of that, they also have the tech platform, which is just going to give them that extra multiple as well. I think that this can easily run into the teens by end of year. And I actually think by the end, once they show fourth quarter, not finish fourth quarter, but show fourth quarter results, I think we'll pass $20.
Is there any argument that this run is fake and it's a pump similar to August 2023 and it could head back down to 7?
I mean, I'm sure there's a little bit of that. Like it's hard to know. I've never tried to judge stock price because I can't control that. So I'm just looking at the fundamentals. The business is stronger today than it was before. And before, especially, there was a lot of headwinds, slightening in their amount of growth, a little pressure on margins. Now it's not looking to be that way at all. Margins are looking to expand. Revenue is looking to, not only accelerate in terms of like growing revenue, but the percentage of growth year over year is going to accelerate. So we got down as low as about 22% year over year, which is still unbelievable for a bank. But I think that that's going to go north of 30%, potentially in 2025, 26. So that acceleration, look at the Palantir guys as well. What happens whenever margins expand and revenue expands as well? Multiples can skyrocket. So I don't know what it's going to do in the short term. I don't do that type of analysis, but yeah.
Okay, Roy, your thoughts on SoFi 52-week highs?
Yeah, so it's on an incredible run. I made a prediction, a lot of predictions towards the end of last year. This was one of the few that I got really wrong. And really what it was is not, I was absolutely wrong. But part of the reason was I was expecting rate cuts to come much, much sooner. SoFi was cautious, was waiting for that first rate cut, which was delayed about 6 months from where the market expected it. And so as a result, the thesis more so than anything was delayed, not over. Now, with SoFi's core business, there's a lot of cyclicality. Not everything's cyclical, but like Robinhood. And like Robinhood, I don't quite see the same golden confluence that I saw towards the end of last year for Robinhood, but it's close. And one of those that's, the lending, Tannor spoke well to that. That makes sense. We believe that this is more than just a bank. They have a fantastic tech platform. And so with that, they actually should have some tremendous headwinds shifting to tailwinds, partly because rate cuts and it looks like recession might be off the table. But the other reason is, of course, Synapse ended up failing a lot of neobanks, and there's a lot of issues with people not being able to withdraw their funds. And as a result, there's a lot more regulatory scrutiny that has come out. And so that's going to fuel a lot of smaller deals, not just waiting on big pipeline banks, legacy banks that take forever to go through that pipeline, apparently. But I think that we'll maybe not see that, in quarter 3 or quarter 4. But next year, I'd expect to see tech platform begin to accelerate dramatically. So I could be wrong on that, but lending certainly, like it's something that they cost controlled and they try to get it so that they were actually lending less in the previous year. There's a lot of room to run in that business, a huge, huge appetite for loans. And of course, financial services is just killing it. So there's a long way to run for SoFi. It's definitely more expensive than it was when we were saying, hey, this is a great price at 7. But it was at 7 for a long time, and it could easily come back down before it goes back up, even if they have great earnings.
Yeah, this was fun, dude. This is fun over the past couple of days, kind of seeing this breakout, because a lot of stocks have had the same trajectory. Hims, Palantir, Hood stuck from $7 to probably $6 to like $9. It's just those 3 companies were stuck for like 18 months. SoFi was stuck for almost 26 months. So it's just a bit of a longer drudge to get out of. And now it looks like SoFi is actually getting out of it. And so I think the market is starting to recognize this. Another question here on SoFi before we go to Robinhood. What do you think Noto has to do in Q4? Because historically in Q3 earnings, because historically they've triple beat, stock collapses. I know interest rates have been cut. I know they're going to get cut in the future. So that macro tailwind is with them. But the street really is not giving them any love. I mean, you've got data-driven investing today that said some analyst is going long lending club, short SoFi. And it just doesn't make a lot of sense. So Tannor, kind of what do you think Noto needs to do to really get the shorts to be scared on Tuesday?
That'll be the hardest question. This is why I say that the bull thesis in the short term is kind of over the next 2 quarters, unless they want to talk about 2025 guidance early. So my expectation is that they'll definitely do 2025 guidance on Q4, obviously. But if they somehow say, hey, this is actually what we're expecting for 2025 at the end of this quarter, the stock will pump. And it's in my opinion that, well, actually, I think it's in every single SoFi investor's opinion that the company always underestimates how much they're actually going to do. They do a conservative guidance every quarter. Okay. If they tighten that a little bit, if they actually say what they really believe, I think that the stock will jump so hard on Q4. If they somehow want to talk about 2025 early in Q3, that's what he would need to say. And the stock would, jump drastically. Because I think analysts are trying to figure out how they make the jump from end year 2024 to end year 2026. Because we have that guidance. We know that they're looking at about 68 cents of EPS. But the end of this year is looking at about 10 cents. So how do you go from 10 to 68 or even 80? You know, and so giving that clarity will allow analysts to sort of fill in the gaps from there. It's the uncertainty that they're having some problems with. And by the way, that guidance for 2026, the 55 cents to 80 cents, which was the EPS guidance for that time frame, was also like CFO and CEO have come out and said that's our guidance if we do nothing new. Okay, that's already changed. They've already put out new products since then. So it's in my expectation that they are also being very conservative there, and they'll be 80 plus by the end of 2026. That EPS growth is unbelievable. So that's really going to change the way that analysts will, put a forward PE on this company.
Roy, same question to you. Anything you think Noto really needs to do on Tuesday?
Yeah, just stop guiding as softly and to be a little bit more transparent as far as where the future growth is coming from. They've guided through 2026, which is very helpful, but analysts are just beginning to focus on 2025 right now. There's maybe just a couple that actually go out further than that. So they're having trouble seeing where this is coming from. They also have trouble with valuing the tech platform. I think I've only seen one or two analyst reports that actually give any value to the tech platform at all. And so I think greater transparency as far as the pipeline. It would be great if he talks more, which they've done a tremendous job on, honestly, since the last quarter, talking about those tailwinds that come from the Synapse collapse. Like that, I think people are very much sleeping on that. And they're like, oh, it's just a bank. I just had a discussion in Spaces with Evan that people are like, oh, it's just a bank. It's like, you're missing a very large piece of SoFi. And the thesis really why we're in is not just because it's a really good bank that's growing, it's slower now, but it's 20 something percent, 22%. It's because of that tech platform and what can happen with that. So yeah, a little bit of color on that. I think analysts have wanted that. They've been, for whatever reason, reluctant to speak on it. And I know with pipeline clients, you have to kind of be careful with what you say, but you can speak more on that. And so, yeah, any sort of uncertainty, of course, markets don't love. So yeah, fill that in for folks.
I'm excited. Earnings on Tuesday. It seems like it's a totally different macro environment. And if Noto does what you guys say he needs to do, especially in regards to guidance, then this can get exciting. Do you guys think $12 by the end of the year? Roundabout?
Brother, you know what? I've got a little qualm with you, okay? You are just taking the share price and adding $2 to it in all of your predictions for the price. Whenever it was 7, he goes, end of year, $9. And then I see him talk about it at 10, he goes, $12 all day long. And then, so you know what?
Well, you just add $2. You can't be wrong if you add $2. And if you are wrong, you're not that wrong, right? So
this is what Wall Street's doing. You're doing what Wall Street is doing.
It's easy though. It's very easy. And like, to his credit, the short-term price action can be very volatile and irrational. Like it's not, like what's so different about SoFi versus where it was 2.5 months ago? I mean, not a lot. There's a few things. Certainly they've actually let out a lot more news over the last 3 weeks than they have in some quarters. But yeah, it's irrational. Like my gut tells me it's going to finish under $10.
Really?
I'm not changing my position at all, other than adding more if it does. So yeah, I'm not called Roy Bear in the SoFi community, despite it being my second largest position after this run for no reason. So.
Yeah, to be fair, that's what I did with Robin and Pounter. So Pounter, I had a $35 target, and now it's at 40. I'm like, guys, I think $40 increased by. And then with Pounter, and then Robin, I said 25. Now it's at 27. I'm like, I think 30. So I guess that's how the price target game works.
Robin, some of it is though not just the price target moving like that. That's a part of that factor, but there's been some qualitative changes in Robinhood, some significant ones since we were talking about price targets at the end of last year. And SoFi is the same thing. So that has a real bearing.
Okay, Tanner, what do you think end of the year?
I mean, so end of year, I don't know, because I find SoFi is one of those stocks. I find there's two different types of companies. There's companies that run up on earnings and then fall for the next 3 months and then jump up again. And then there's other companies like Snapchat that sort of run up all 3 months and then drop on earnings. I don't want to be that company, because what you're actually showing is you're in a really good market, but you're actually not executing as probably as good as you should be. SoFi is the opposite. Everyone thinks they're going to do terribly, and then they execute way better than expected. I'd rather be there, because there will come a time where both line up, where they're expected good things and they still outperform, and then you get sort of like a CrowdStrike event.
Okay, so give us a number.
Well, end of year, I don't know. I really want to put a prediction.
At least I put a number on my, like, put a number, bro. Put something in the ground. Put it.
Can I put a
15,
number
12?
on after Q4 earnings comes out?
No, then it doesn't make it fun.
Okay, so end of year, I don't know.
$12.
16, 15, 15.
Okay, 15. That's reasonable. 15.
Boy, there's a big difference between 9 and 15. Yeah, I just, I think quarter 4 is going to be that blow off the top quarter, unless Notice speaks to guidance early. They do hit a full year profitable cycle here in quarter 3, but quarter 4 is like, it's actually in the books, and so that's also meaningful for some other companies. And I think that they want a little bit more color on how SoFi accelerates that lending platform. So I could be wrong, but I'm just saying, like, if you are looking for an opportunity to get into SoFi, you might a dollar cost average now if you like the company, if you like where it's going, and maybe it's not for you. But if you're like, I'm not so sure, just watch and study it, look at the fundamentals, and don't get scared or surprised if the price drops under double digits. It's very, very volatile for a reason.
Kelly's in here bashing my price prediction. Girl, the freaking stock just went up 44% in a month. All right. You're doing what Amit's doing. Focus on the fundamentals.
15 is aggressive after a 44% run, but so is my price prediction of Robinhood to 30 after a 100-something% run. So
we haven't seen Q3 earnings. I don't understand. Like, have you? Well, I'm about to put out a video on modeling SoFi's growth for Q3. And it is so hard to just hit what they say they're expecting, let alone their beats. They've triple beat every single quarter since being a profitable company. And yet it's near impossible to model what they're even saying in their guidance without sounding ultra bullish. Yeah. So it's incredible to try to get 80+% growths in financial services. It's incredible. If they actually end up beating that, I think that the market will be very, very happy with them. I think that they're going to show off way more loan selling, way more originations than people are expecting. And that's going to lead to a really good stock. People are still putting like EPS targets way too low. There's 16 to 17% short interest. If it stays up this high, you're going to see a lot of closing. The stock is going to run up. I think we're in a perfect catalyst right now.
So we should be getting new short updates like tomorrow. We got Palantir's today. Palantir's short float actually went down about 2% today. SoFi is not updated yet. I'm looking at right now. But maybe in the next.
I was looking at Ortex live shorting data, and there's some returning for sure.
Yeah, agreed.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So 2 things, and then we'll get into Robinhood. First of all, Walt, thank you for becoming a channel member. He says, great show, guys. Thank you, Walt, for being here. And Dougie, thank you for the $60 super chat. He says it's early, but I don't want to forget. Happy golden birthday, turning 27 on the 27th. Here's 1 year of Hood Gold for you. I like that. Golden birthday, Hood Gold. I love it. Thank you, Doug. Really, really appreciate that. Thank you for that super chat. Okay, so a couple of things have happened. Number 1, Tanner's interviewed Vlad again. So that's in the chat. Make sure to check that out. That is on his channel. I watched it 2 days ago. I think I was like one of the first 5 viewers. It popped up immediately, and I was like, this is great. So you got Tanner looking like he's about to kiss Vlad right there. He's like face to face with him. And then you also had our boy Crossroads taking a pic with Vlad. So it seemed like this summit was amazing. You guys had a lot of fun. It was in Miami. Tanner, was this your first time in America or no?
No.
Okay. Okay, so this wasn't your first time in America, but
I don't even think it was my 10th time in Florida.
Okay, so did you have like a vacation home there? Yeah. Okay, cool. So give me the rundown. Before we get into the nitty gritty, what was it like? What was the energy of being at this Robinhood event? We'll start with you, Tanner, then Roy. Go ahead.
Unbelievable. So I said multiple times to Roy, it's probably up there on some of the best experiences I've had. So getting to meet the culture of the team, everyone, like even they were excited. Like there was a lot of talk about SoFi too. Like they were happy to just talk fintech, and they were all nerds, like just stock and fintech nerds. I loved it. But yeah, it was great. The energy was great. We got a ton of FaceTime with Vlad, probably Roy and I about 2 hours or so, just sitting and talking with Vlad about whatever. So getting to learn a lot about the company, the culture, the total addressable markets of the new products that came out, which I think futures, even more than index options, is going to be an unbelievably large product for them. the ladder is just too easy to use, and I think it's going to lead to a lot of volume. But yeah, I don't know
What
else.
was it like talking to employees at the company, product designers, product managers, etc.?
So there was one guy. Roy is already going to know who I'm talking about. I won't say any names.
Is it Abhishek?
No, but Abhishek was amazing.
Okay.
Abhishek was amazing, but one of their head designers was like off the walls excited to talk about the product design at Robinhood. Like you could tell he lived for making the products. I think he was mainly on the Legends side of things. And so talking about the reasons for going web-based versus application versus all of these different things that they were going over, you could tell like it was passion driven. And that was another thing that Vlad was talking to us about a lot. He was very upfront about how much they pay for engineers. Like he overpays for engineers, but he expects 2-3x out of them what he could get from a regular employee. So although they've trimmed their headcount by nearly 50% over the last 2 years, they have the cream of the crop right now. And yeah, he thinks he could put his engineering team up against any other fintech team out there.
I love it. Roy, what was your raw takeaways from the event?
Yeah, they blew me away. I was, just because of the execution over this year, even before I went to the summit, I think a day or two before I went, I'm like, I've only bought options. I had seen a tremendous run up this year. I saw the cyclicality of Robinhood. I was like, I want a piece of this, easy money, but I want out by January. Now I don't want out anymore. And so and it's not just because I met Vlad. Like even before I went there, talking with Tannor and Tevis, I'm like, I need this long term. But going there, it has, beyond just meeting Vlad, which was amazing. Don't get me wrong. Like just getting to talk to him. He's like a normal dude that's wildly successful, brilliant mind, but just, very sincere. And it was great just to hear and talk to him. He does see everything apparently. But the actual culture. So I think there's maybe 50 or 60 at least employees of Robinhood, and they are spread out. They don't just have one office. Their New York offices are the big office, but they brought people from all over their offices, and actually many also work from home as well. And their culture is so hungry to perform that when they were showing off and showcasing these products and these projects that they've been working on, there was palpable excitement, and it wasn't just because they've been drinking Celsius or something like that. Why are you using Webull, by the way?
I literally, as soon as I shared it, I was like, wait, let me put up Legend. So yeah, I'm going to show that right now.
Yeah, it's a really good in design, and they're very, very open to feedback on it. By the way, I sent maybe almost a 2-pager just from my experience. Just it's phenomenal, and it's like, here's some things that you can tweak or do maybe. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, their team is other than maybe just a couple of them, they're there for more than just the money. And so there is a lot of similarities in that culture with what I haven't seen firsthand other than meeting Eliano, but with the Palantir culture, that they are very, very mission driven. It starts at the top, and that they're at Robinhood. And I'm not quite sure how they've been able to achieve this, but they're not heavily siloed. There are there's basically none. Like you even see that with them launching the futures platform, or rather the ability to use futures there on Robinhood. They intended to launch it earlier, and they said, hey, let's not, it'd be too much at once. We're launching the Robinhood Legends, but let's at least show it off, and just acknowledgement of understanding where the company is going, what it needs to do, what their role is in it. And it's just an incredible culture. So I'm like, I want a piece of this. Abhishek was one guy you mentioned. I got to talk to him for a while, and he's incredible. Blew me away. So,
and another thing, I think potentially this was part of the live stream. It's hard to remember what was what you guys saw versus what we saw. But they said that they had shut down the platform for futures trading for employees to start to implement it to go live. And employees were sending in, nasty emails saying hey, this sucks, bring it back. It was crazy. And the thing about this is we were trying to figure out, does this happen every product launch or for futures? And it was very much a futures driven, upset that they couldn't use it. The ladder is so intuitive. And that was one of the things I was talking to Vlad about.
Yeah.
was like, you don't need to learn how to use these products. They will work how you think they're going to work. If you want to drag something, it drags. If you want to click instead, it'll click. And there's all of this like in crazy intuitive design that separates, Google Docs from Notion, and
Let's watch a little bit of that. Yeah, so to give people an understanding of this. So this is the ladder stuff that Tanner's talking about right here.
Retail trader. So I'm gonna bring that right up. So here's a ladder, and you can see that the current price is moving around. You'll see the bids, you'll see the asks. And when I say this thing is fast, you can get into the market by just buying or selling with the buttons at the bottom. But knowing the folks here, you guys are, more advanced traders. And we know that typically folks have a price level they want to get in at. So since I'm feeling, you said bearish, I can get in at, let's say, a price that's a little lower than the market, since I think it might come down. I can tap on the price and tap buy. And your working order is in the market right now.
Do you notice she's buying even though you said bearish?
Pretty incredible. So you think that design, Tanner, is just like revolutionary for futures?
Well, I mean, you just looked at the starting point of it. There's a lot to it, but yeah, I really do. It was amazing, and they're really trying to work to bring micro futures into this much more, because with futures there's a big collateral aspect, and they know that not every account that they're going to deal with is going to have a lot of money or availability there. So they're trying to bring in, 1/10 of a future contract for futures that trade at larger quantities. And with options contracts, options were not that popular with retail until Robinhood came out with their product. They literally changed the market the same way that Nubank changed credit cards in Brazil. And so I 100% think that Robinhood is going to reshape futures. They're going to increase the volume, and they're going to be the ones that allow more micro futures to come out, or even, nano futures or something like this for future reference if they want to get even smaller. But you wonder why Robinhood is going to pay 2% for people with margin of $10,000 or more. Just happens to be the amount of margin required to start trading futures for S&P 500 contracts. They're bringing people over in such a smart way, and it's all connected. So not only is margin going to skyrocket, but it's also going to lead to more trading on the future side.
I didn't know that. I didn't know you needed $10,000 in margin to trade futures. That's actually new to me. So makes a lot of sense.
Not to trade all futures. Each individual contract will have a different requirement. It just happens to be the most popular traded contract, and it's a $10,000 requirement. But then you can trade micro futures, which might only require $1,000 worth of margin.
Gotcha.
They're all leveraged different amount. They broke it down in the summit really well, and from what I understand, that they have some pretty good learning tools put in place for those that are new to futures. I've never traded them. I know that probably some in your audience have before and really love them, but I'm eager to try. But I want to start with micro because, it's a leveraged product. So if you don't know what you're doing, you can hurt yourself. So
they literally
I don't.
What's his name there to talk about futures?
The CBOE guy, Tomczyk.
No.
The guy from the Seaborn Capital thingy?
You're getting a picture.
Fred Tomczyk, the CEO of CBOE, was there. He talked some about it. I got some information. Like they're a publicly traded company too, so you can see just how meaningful both that and index options, two heavily requested features, are to Robinhood. A couple of analysts actually bumped up their price targets simply because these are launching at some point before the end of the year. I'm not sure who Tanner's referring.
Mark Fisher, baby.
Oh yeah, Mark Fisher. Yeah,
Mark Fisher was there to talk, and he was using the Robinhood ladder and everything. It was a lot of fun.
It's hilarious. Live trading while you were commenting to people. He's like, okay, what is it? This? Okay, then sell it and show it. And then the communication was imperfect. It was hilarious.
So futures was really cool. Index options was cool. Let's talk about Legend, the actual platform. I'm getting mixed reviews. Some people are saying it's still a baby platform compared to like TradingView. Other people are saying, it's pretty damn good enough for me to transfer my account and get that 2% match. What are your guys' takeaway now after a week of sitting with the platform?
Tanner doesn't have it, so I'll let
So
him get
Tanner. Okay, so Roy, you can start, and then Tanner will get your thoughts too.
Yeah, I really like it. I've been using it instead of the Robinhood desktop view, and yeah, for me. But I'm not a heavy trader. It's amazing. It has more tools on it than I need. There's a couple of few features that stood out to me that were missing or lacking that could be improved on. It's basically, you can think of it as in beta. And the thing is, this is Robinhood. This isn't a company, and I'm going to say SoFi, like SoFi, that just puts out an invest product and forgets that it exists for like 3 years. And people are like, we're a level 1 options. Oh, those will come by 2030. I was like, oh, okay, cool. That's awesome. Maybe not even then. Like, who knows? But this is their bread and butter. They're very, very good at shipping products. They have incredible engineers, and they're very open to feedback. That, like, literally when we were there in some of those breakouts, that people were like, well, do you have this ability? And they'd be like, that's on the roadmap. That should come out within this next month. Or they'd be like, what about this? It's like, we did not actually think about that. We need to do some talking about that, but that's a great idea. Or what about this ability? And they're like, oh, we actually talked about that. We decided not to include it because of this, but maybe we'll put that in. So they were like keeping notes. They were, I think that those are all recorded and everything, but they are very, very responsive to feedback. This is something they're going to continue to work on. And so it's a platform that they will build on. I have heard from some traders that are like, it's missing this and that and the other that I really like using. And fair enough. Hopefully they send those on to Robinhood support so they can get that feedback. But I've heard from a lot of people too, that they love the product. It's very, very intuitive. It's visually striking. It's just so easy to use and set up. Like, from not knowing anything on the platform, I saw the demo, but I hadn't really played with it at all till I got back home. I think it took me like 2 minutes to set up my desktop from blank, and I had exactly what I needed, all the tools that I wanted, all the customization that I wanted. Then I was ready to go. It's just like one of the more incredible things. You do vertical spreads on it, right?
Yeah,
level 3 options. Have you tried that yet with the Robinhood Legend platform?
I haven't. Ever since I got from India, I haven't had the time to sit down and
man.
actually do with it. So this weekend is my goal.
It's ridiculously easy. If you're in your Roth or IRA, which I tried, and I was like, oh yeah, I can't do level 3s on this. That's why it's not working. But if you're in your individual account and you want to set that up, you click the side that you want to be on long, the side that you want to be on short, and then it automatically has that right there. It's just 2 clicks, and then you have even like the positioning in the box is like, it's not going to cover up anything you need to make that decision. It won't cover up the charts or the numbers, but it's right there, right by your cursor. So if you want to click or make any adjustments, you can. It's a really, really good product. I think really what they're going for here is trying to make a platform that removes some of those hurdles. That Vlad did a great job in the presentation of showing all these different tweets across the board that saying, you're using Robinhood for this, it's missing this feature, the charts suck, this and that and the other. And then he's like, all these products have launched, those are all gone. So it's removing that barrier to entry for some that are more advanced users. And on the other side of it, you kind of want to close the back door. So you have a lot of new traders and investors coming to Robinhood as their first platform. But as they get more advanced, they might be like, well, you know what? I want something more advanced that I can use. They now have that, and they're open to feedback. So it would be a shocker if this also didn't help them retain users on the other side, especially when those matching bonuses start running up.
Yeah.
I think your thoughts.
Sorry, I was just going to add to that. Just, it's closing the back door. That's a great way to say that, like, as people start with Robinhood, get the mobile app, this is their first trading experience, they have no reason to leave. So locking in that customer lifetime value, because churn will go down because they're starting to offer these products. This is not Legend at its final form. They're looking at adding screeners, news sections. They want futures on there. All the products that are all rolling out on mobile will have a better, larger, more in-depth version on desktop. Now, there are some people that are complaining because if you're day trading and all these things, that payment for order flow might not give you the best pricing. But even then, like, Robinhood is trying to win every single deal possible. I guarantee you, going further, there'll be multiple pricing tiers, and with the matching and everything, you're not going to want to leave. They're going to get really, really highly sophisticated traders and regular traders like myself as well.
Can you show my screen real quick on it?
Yeah.
So I won't show like there's customization like across the board. I can change all the sliders. I can change the way this whole thing lays out. But this is my advanced options trader. So this is Robinhood 2 weeks out. You can change the strikes. You can change whether it shows puts or calls. But I can select a date, and then I can be like, okay, you know what I want to do is buy right here for 29s, and I want to sell for the vertical spread. Let's do 32. And then right here, it may be hard to see for folks. It's ready to go there. And of course, I can change the price direction, credit or debit if I prefer. I can put a limit price for that spread. And I can change, of course, the time in force. But it's, and then also like if you want to do something different than a 1-to-1 ratio, but like there's all more advanced things that you can do if you're more advanced. But if you're simple, you just click, boom. And if I change one of the strikes, it automatically updates and adds that into there. So if I want to make it like real complicated, which I do not, then it's there. So yeah, it's awesome.
It's interesting because even trading options on the actual app is incredibly easy. It's a couple clicks and then boom, you're there. But if you're trading multiple hundreds of contracts at once and you just need to be doing it quickly on a screen, it's also very simple. Click, boom, put in the order, and then you're there. So
as someone said in the chat, tax lot selling will be there. I think they said by the end of the year or something along those lines, or within the year or something.
And that's a big one. That's important.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you got some people saying any serious trader will laugh at it because it leaves a lot to be desired. I have talked to some other serious traders and they're saying, look, it's not enough to leave yet, but it's in the right direction. And that's all you can ask for a company that in your interview, Tannor, Vlad was talking about how they're too often associated with beginner friendly investing and they want to get to the higher level sophisticated traders. So this is a first step. And it's a multi-year journey, but I would imagine given their speed of innovation over the next few months, they're going to introduce a lot of features and make it really compelling to potentially get people to leave. And once you get them to leave their current brokerage, there's no reason to leave Robinhood at that point.
Yeah, Vlad said essentially his sort of ideal plan is to run 4 of these events a year and bounce between them, and the team will have to be highly motivated to put out product to sort of match that delivery date, similar to Apple. So a ton of Apple sort of crossovers in this event. It was quite crazy, but you could tell that Steve Jobs was a massive influence on this man. And that interview was a lot of fun, but I was told specifically to talk about, the products that actually came out, and then any reference of any, earnings or revenues or anything like this, because we were so close to earnings, kind of got cut out. So that was the only problem there. But hey, I got to interview Vlad on my birthday. It was the best gift ever, man. It was a lot of fun.
Happy belated. Yeah, it was your birthday. So was it fun? Did you guys get to like go out, get some drinks in Miami and like chill and stuff?
Meeting Roy was like the best. Like we chilled the entire 3 days. Like I don't think we really separated all that much.
Yeah, no, there was a lot to do though. They had after hours parties, and those were really great just to get to meet other investors, people like from BlackRock, other people at Robinhood. They're fantastic. Although, I'm in my 40s, so I'm like not like party, but no, it was a great time, and like really those, I think even more valuable than the actual summit, other than the keynote. Was those connections and getting to meet and ask questions, and everyone was very open. And sometimes they'd be like, I can't speak to that. So it's like, I understand. So you're not trying to get some information that you shouldn't give us, but it's fantastic.
Yeah, me and Amit are only 10 days age difference.
So you just turned 27, right, Sam?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll be 27 in 10 days as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so then this begs the broader question here. Tannor has been long since like 16. I've been long since like 9. Roy, you just decided it's time to go long. What was the switch in your head that made it feel less cyclical and more part of a long-term portfolio strategy?
The drive towards retirement accounts more than anything else. That's not money that tends to leave platforms, and they can do a lot with. The cost of acquisition is there certainly with the matching bonus, but people were transferring over massive amounts of money that still makes Robinhood money. And as the user interface continues to get better, and as they launch products like this, it's less and less likely that once those years of the matching, as it is staggered for 24 months, ends, that they'll just say, oh, you know what, I'm out. The gold subscription is another piece as well. I know that in a bear market, there will be fewer gold subscribers, but subscription is it's the best form of revenue. It's stable. You know where it's at. They now have, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's 6, maybe 7 products that have a $100 million run rate through a year. And so they're not simply just about like, if the equities market is cooking, then they're great. They built up a lot of capability just for additional revenue in the future. And so there is still cyclicality for sure. But this is also the last piece is, I thought when I was looking at this is last May of 2020. What year are we now? 2023, last year. I thought Vlad was a good CEO. I didn't think he was a great one. I'm like, okay, I was wrong. And on Robinhood's culture, like that was like the last piece. I was already there, but I'm like, that shoved me over the edge. And every single bit of Robinhood options that I sell between now and January, all of that's going towards Robinhood. And I'll still probably buy some even outside of that, even though that's a good chunk of money. I think it'll become my 3rd largest position, or maybe a 4th. It'll be right there.
Yeah. So to add to that, I saw some comments saying like, oh, Vlad isn't a normal human being and all these things. You really have to beat him. I don't know if I'll ever meet a CEO that is that understanding of what's going on around him. I mean, he was in full control, super normal guy. Yeah, it was an awesome meet. And even Amit, you were the only thing missing in that equation because you absolutely could have been there. But obviously you had family and stuff, which took precedent. But I don't know if you're going to the investor day or anything, or if they reached out to you there. But
I mean, I hope to be there because it's in New York and I'm an hour away. So I imagine I will be there. And if you guys be there as well, then that would be awesome. Again,
did you get invited, Roy?
I just got an invitation while we were in the stream.
Yeah, I just got. I'm pretty sure everyone got an email, but you can apply right now if you got the email.
Yeah.
They have a link to apply at, and yeah, dude, I would imagine. I mean, Tannor is not too far away. Roy is not too far away. I'm in New Jersey, so if all 3 of us could be there again, that would be super fun. And this wouldn't be like a party or anything, but this would be. So let's talk about this Investor Day thing because in the Investor Day press release, like I was in India seeing the stock hover around 23.50 to 24, and then boom, it jumps to 25.20 when they release this PR. And this PR is, hey, Investor Day, December 4th, we want institutional and retail analysts, just like Vlad talked about at the end of that Q2 earnings call, where he gave a shout out to YouTube and X analysts to be at this event. I don't know if I've seen a company outside of Tesla that has had a real investor day with retail analysts. Palantir has not had an investor day yet, but they've embraced retail. Do something like this, and seems like Robinhood's doing it. So what is your reaction to that, and what do you think they're trying to go for here with this investor day?
Can I add a little bit that it's not quite answering your question, but it was a really great moment when we were there. Damon John was talking about early days watching Jim Cramer, and Vlad was sort of stopped the conversation and said, how many people in the crowd watch Jim Cramer? It was just boos and no hands, just all hate. And then he goes, how many people watch finance content on TikTok? 0. How many people watch on YouTube? Woo! Like just everyone. Not everyone, but I would say probably 60-70% of the audience. It was very interesting to see that.
So there is a paradigmatic shift in terms of how people are finding finance content on the internet, and it's through long form stuff like what we're doing right now, basically.
Yeah. I'm not a big I've gotten into Robinhood a little bit later than some. But the amount of people that recognized me while we were there, it was it's a massive community. It's crazy. We're all kind of picking our own bets and everything and trying to learn amongst each other. And it was a very cool event. But to go back to your question, sorry, what?
So in the email, they're saying we'll share more about our vision for the next 10 years and how that can drive customer and shareholder value. We also plan to answer questions from investors and analysts. So the question is, why do you think they're doing an investor day after they've already done 2 big events this year?
I think honestly they're benefiting a ton from showing more transparency. That's what it looks like it's to be. And I asked him about this in the interview. He's super excited about the investor day. I think maybe potentially more than the Hood Summit, because this is not an investor day to talk about existing business 2 years out. They're going to see a sort of 10-year vision, which could be a potential massive market share shift in how they see that happening. That could do great things for the stock. I think that could be a Tesla level event where they say, hey, this is how we see the world shifting. And then analysts can sort of benchmark each and every year to see, is the progress on track or not? Or is it ahead of schedule? So, long-term guidance is also important as well.
Yeah. Roy?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like they have seen a benefit from being transparent with not only analysts and investors and institutions, and they are an institutional health stock. It's over 70% institution, but they've seen the benefit from interacting with retail, along with Palantir and a few others as well. And most stocks and companies don't see that, but I think it especially makes sense for a business to consumer product. And this is exciting because Vlad is not just a guy that had the branding of Robinhood be democratized finance. Like that's not just a catchy slogan that they thought looked good, when they were starting up the company. Vlad means it, and finance is huge. It's not. Let me just, we don't know anything for sure. We didn't hear anything from Vlad on this. We'll get to see it here in December. But some of those questions, survey questions, that if you were on the Robinhood app about mortgages and different things, like finance is massive. And what their plan and vision is will be very, very compelling and interesting. For me, even though this is a smaller event as far as days, number of people, events, all that stuff, it's far, far more significant as an investor. And so I'm really, really excited for this one.
Yeah, I mean, I was in India. It was like 1 a.m. I see the press release, and I'm like, oh, these guys aren't fucking around. Like, they are not fucking around. Dude, like, if you're ready to get up in front of, like, first of all, most companies don't like talking to investors, right? Because they're always a bit afraid of actually engaging with investors unless you're ready to talk to them because you know that you're going to say something that's going to get them excited. And as a result, you get price target upgrades, yada, yada. And then you get to access the deep liquidity of the public markets. And so if Robinhood, after 2 big events this year, decides they want to have an investor day and talk to all the guys, whether it's us 3 or the people from Goldman Sachs, then it means that they obviously are pretty bullish on their future. And if they're bullish on their future, it at least makes you think, barring any macroeconomic recession or anything, if they can keep executing and keep innovating, and as Tannor said, have those benchmarks that they will be held accountable to from investors because they're embracing that accountability, then it makes sense for why the stock is going higher, because investors are realizing that they have the confidence to want to win. Pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. How's the after party? How'd you guys enjoy that?
The first night was amazing. It was on top of a hotel, like it's not all the way up, but it's an open courtyard, and just maybe 500 people out there, music, branding and like everything. Like you would actually think from the event, the summit, that the parties and everything, that this was not their first event that they've done. That was actually really impressive. And actually some of the people that were doing this and planning the whole event out had not been with Robinhood for more than a couple of years. And so like they not only know how to retain quality talent, but they know how to hire people that come in and fill those holes that they are lacking. But yeah, the actual party was amazing. All sorts of different, like swordfish, octopus, lots of fun.
Did you guys get drunk at all or no?
I don't drink. So
I don't drink. Yeah. Tanner, do you drink or no?
Not this year, no.
Okay.
But it was a great time. A lot of recognizable people there. That was interesting. ARK Invest was out there. So there were a couple people there that I recognized. That was very interesting. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I can't underestimate it or understate it. It was interesting. Excited to see more. Shout out to, am I getting this right, Roy? The CMO?
Yeah.
He was fantastic.
The chief marketing guy. I feel like I know his name, but
Michael. Yeah, he's huge. He's a massive human being. Stands out in the crowd.
Okay, yeah, he is literally a physically big human being, but he was a big part of the party as well. He was great.
Yeah. like every single Robinhood person that I met and I talked to personally, I found inviting and welcoming, except for like maybe one, but it's just like, they were going to something and they didn't have time, and that was fine and understandable. But Michael in particular, like he was fun. He was interesting to talk to about just, his different journey in fintech and what he's doing there at Robinhood. Like they've gone and they've shifted from very defensive after GameStop and after the bear market to going on offensive. Like Vlad authorized, the company authorized $100 million spend in marketing. And like, even when, and I do this intentionally, like I have some like emails that I'll access and I'll just say, you know what, I'm just going to go in incognito mode and I'll browse around a little bit and I'll see Robinhood ads, depending on what I'm on, like if it's finance stuff, all over the place. So like they're going for it. Absolutely. So, and I can't wait to see as an investor, of course, this earnings, it'll be the third quarter in a row that they have over a 40% year-over-year revenue growth, barring something really weird happening. It'll be in the 40% range, which is incredible performance. The trajectory that they're going on, I would be pretty surprised if next year they don't enter in the S&P 500.
Yeah. Yeah. And that everyone, when people are saying, hey, are you buying? I've been buying at 26 to 27 all week, to be honest, because just like long-term equity. And so I think this is a triple-digit stock in the next 5 to 10 years. And it'll take some time. There'll be some pullbacks, all that stuff. But once they get into the S&P, then I think if based on where the stock price is, maybe that normalizes them in the 40s and 50s. Basically, what's happened with Palantir right now, it's going to be hard to see Palantir going back to 27. And then you've just got a long trajectory of growth with a founder who actually believes in his vision.
So you'll love this, Amit. I was talking with Vlad just as we were leaving, and I said, during the Legends event, you were talking about how all these brokerages were getting bought up by large banks. Is Robinhood going to be a target of those acquisitions? And he said, I can promise you, I'll never sell.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's big.
And he said, I've made enough money. I don't need money. We're here to change the world.
Let's go.
Dude, I like, he was such a genuine guy. I know some people are going to take that comment and say, oh, he's saying a certain, he was as genuine as it got.
Yeah.
Like, he just walked up to me during the conference. There's security guards around him, big crowds and everything. He walks up to me. He goes, I didn't know it was your birthday yesterday. Like, it was just such a genuine human connection. It was a lot of fun. So
dude, he's a really nice guy. I know he got a really bad rap during GameStop, and he wasn't the best with his communication at the time and just didn't really know how to do interviews that well. But things have changed. And I think he's an authentic, nice human being. He's a founder, so he's not a corporate guy running his company. He actually gives a shit about Robinhood. And then B, the company's $25 billion right now. Any acquisition would have to be 40 to 50 billion, which if you think about the long-term trajectory of Robinhood, that is relatively cheap compared to where they could go. So it makes no sense financially to sell either.
And I was talking to a lot of employees about that, GameStop event, and they all just said like they feel that bad for Vlad. Like everything he posts is still getting brought back to this, and they don't see why people don't see it as a simple one-time mistake. And in fact, most meetings are about, okay, how do we evolve, but also never let that happen again? So I think it's one of those things where it was a wound, but now it's just stitched up, it's wrapped, there's bandages on it. There's just too much protecting that wound now to sort of let the brand heal. And yeah, it was great. Even stock market news I saw in the chat, he was there as well. I don't know how much anonymity he wants, so I'm going to leave out any.
Did you guys get to see him and chill with him?
Yeah. He was awesome. Fantastic. We spent a lot of time together.
Wonderful, wonderful human being. Just awesome. So
I remember when I met Abhishek, the first thing I asked him was like, how did you guys deal with that GameStop event? And he just got so sad. He was like, dude, like, yeah, it was a bad situation, but people are still giving him shit 3 years later. And because they see him on a daily basis grinding his ass off to build this company. And, when people are still doing something that years ago that or using something that happened years ago to tear you down, I imagine the employees would definitely feel emotional about that.
Also, Vlad remembers you as being tall, so you have a great personality. It's letting you, so that's a good thing.
What how did you asked him if Amit's tall, and he said yes?
No, he said I was taller than he thought, and then he said, well, Amit's really tall. And then Taylor, the person that's with him, was like, Amit was not tall. you were getting roasted a little bit, but they loved you there. So
I just said you're larger than life. So, but it was funny because he had been talking with Alonzo Mourning the day before, and I'm like, that man is tall. Amit, no, not quite as tall.
I am not tall, dude. Look at this thing, dude.
Yeah.
Look at this. Tanner is almost as tall as him, right? Tanner, you're close to his height. I'm like,
yeah, I think we're both 5'11".
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
not,
I think
definitely
Tanner
not tall.
might have me by like half an inch or something. I don't know, but yeah, we're close. So we'll tower over you. That'll be fun.
Oh yeah, when I meet you guys, you're gonna be like, "Hey, what's up, buddy?"
I'll have to confirm with the wife, but yeah, I definitely want to go and plan to go. I got some time, so.
Dude, if you guys actually come to New York, you should make a weekend out of it. See, you're
that would be harder.
He might have an inch on me.
Yeah, he has an inch on you, but he has like 7 inches on me. So it's like he's definitely. Yeah, if you guys, if it's what's December 4th? Is that
Yeah, Wednesday.
Oh,
Yeah.
It might be hard to make a weekend out of that. Then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll sleep at Amit's house. We'll all be around the bricks.
You guys are welcome. You guys are welcome to be here.
See how fake those bricks really are.
All right. I think that's pretty much it. This was super, super awesome. Roy has started a YouTube channel officially, so please make sure to follow him, putting that link in the description. Once again, you can make sure to check him out right there. Roy, we got you up to 90 subs.
Yeah, there you go. I didn't say I was tall. A bunch of people roasting that I'm 5'11". He said I was taller than he thought. That's all I said. All right.
So you're taller than me. That's for sure. You're taller than me.
Yeah, I think I'm a giant.
Yeah. And then we got the Tanner interview right here. Everyone should watch this. This is really fun. It was good. They were so close to each other, so Tanner's just like staring into him the whole time.
I talked to people. I hate that they faced. Okay, so it was literally like hair, makeup. Like there were people all over me. They were putting mic packs on me, and then I found out later that the audio pack wasn't even freaking set up properly. So it was only his mic that was.
But it was good audio. It wasn't bad audio. It was really good.
Yeah, that's because I did a freaking bunch of audio engineering once I got the clip. It was only coming out of the right ear, so I had to copy the right to the left channel. Anyway, so what's it called? Yeah, I just look people in their eyes when I'm talking to them. So it literally looks like my head's just cocked to the right. It didn't feel like that when I was talking to them. It just looked like I was looking at them.
The nice thing is it didn't show that you were wearing lipstick there. So
yeah, I was wearing lipstick. They put lipstick on me, but you can see that I am balding, which is nice. So
what did your girlfriend think of this, Tanner? And Roy, what did your wife think of this? Like, did they think this was a big deal, or they were just like, "Oh, honey, have fun at your little Robin Hood event"? Like, how'd they think of it?
So,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. It was good. I found out because of one of the sponsors on the channel that I'm gonna be on the NASDAQ billboard soon.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
In New York, like the big freaking thing. So that happened while I was in Miami. So it's just like a string of interesting events that was really exciting. So, they were really happy, and I was sharing the news and everything. And
but did your girlfriend get how big of a deal it is that you're interviewing this guy? Like, did she really because you're in the media business. This is a big deal for your career. Did she get it or not really?
I think so. I've talked to him before, so I don't know. And yeah, I'm not sure. She was definitely very excited, but sad that she wasn't coming.
Okay, Roy, how's your wife on this?
Yeah, my wife, she's supportive, but she was like, "Hey, that's great," and she was a little sad because she loves that sort of environment and would have loved to be there, but maybe in the future we'll see. But yeah, she was like, "Yeah, no, this is really good. I'm happy for you, proud of you." My brothers, they were so pumped. Like they got it. They're investors as well. They know who Vlad is. My wife, understands kind of. And then the funniest though is my dad. So I was sharing with my mom and dad. They're very excited, sort of like your parents are for you. But my dad, I showed him like who was in the panel and stuff. And like Vlad, he doesn't really know who Vlad is, but Alonzo Mourning was going to be there, and Hall of Fame basketball player. And so my dad's like, "Hey, you got to shake that man's hand." Like Vlad, he's like, "Yeah, whatever, that's fine." And I almost missed it. I had 2 different opportunities. The last day too, or not the last day, but he was speaking at a very, very good breakout on our sports obsession, I think it was called. And they had an Olympian there and himself, and then LeBron's agent as well, and just been fantastic. Yeah, so didn't get to shake it, on stage or anything like that. And I heard that there might be an opportunity, and then I was told no, probably not. He's leaving. So I'm like, oh, that's fine. You know, I go to use the bathroom, and there's this giant of a man, 6'10", that's strutting through, you know, walking through, just in like everybody's ignoring him. I'm like, Zoe, hey, what's up? Can I shake your hand? And he said, yeah, no problem. And I felt like, you know, I had a little girl's hand, like a 4-year-old little girl, like compared to his massive mitts. And just he was very gracious and kind. And so I got to tell my dad, it's like, hey, I shook Vlad's hand, which I know is no big deal to you, but yeah, Zoe, I did shake his hand. And he's like, all right, good, I'm proud of you. So
I love it. That's so cool, dude.
We were talking about SoFi there, and he's like, I was like, yeah, I'm still waiting to interview Anthony Noto and everything. And he goes, well, you'll get an interview. I was like, why? He's like, because they do everything we do 6 months later. So,
yeah.
I mean, hold on. Did you see the news that came for SoFi today?
Yeah, baby. Yes.
I mean, they are definitely following Robinhood 1% match. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little different. It's only matching what goes into SoFi Invest. Okay, so
how is that different?
Well, because isn't it a 1% match if it goes into Robinhood Cash?
No, it's a 1% match if it goes into the brokerage. Right? It's the exact same thing.
Okay, so but then it's way better then, because this 1% match is not paid out over 2 years. It's paid out in like the first month.
Yeah, so I didn't look at those details. If that's the case, that technically is a little bit better. You're right.
Yeah. So the APY now is incredible.
It is funny though that you said they do everything 6 months later, because you know now they're following up on this, and I'm sure this will be good for SoFi. The question's just like, is it really going to bring that many more people away to use SoFi? But if you're already using SoFi and you get a 1% match, it's harder to leave now, right? Because it's integrated right there. So
yeah. No, they'll do great things, and both will do great. Anthony Noto was just on a separate interview, and he said, like, people really need to watch out for SoFi, Robinhood, and Affirm. Like, those are the ones that he's calling sort of the leaders. And, you know, these financial institutions better not think that they just have the lead and are going to keep it forever. Unless, I mean, they can innovate too, but they're going to have to work their ass off.
Are you feeling, the last question for you, and then I'll let you guys get out of here, but Tannor, are you feeling a little bit of the vibe shift with your audience? You know, now that SoFi's picking up a little bit, are people just like, all right, we knew we were right, and now finally the stock's reacting to it?
I mean, yeah, definitely. Like, I used to get like just people sending me terrible messages and everything to a bunch of people saying, we're going to the moon, win $100. Like, it's crazy how much like $2 in a stock price could just change from, you know, this company is delisting to we're going to own a Lamborghini.
$2.
Yeah. But I mean, Roy felt it with Palantir too, dude. I mean, there were like death threats at $8, and now it's like, well, when are we going to 50? It's like everything changes when the price goes up.
Yeah. And both extremes are wrong, but they're fun. You know, Tannor might want to share this story too, but there are some very noted bears think that SoFi people that, you know, share on YouTube or on X are paid by SoFi to do that, because why else would people be following this dumb company? And
they were at the Robinhood Summit. It was you can say who it was. It was Porter Collins and Vincent Daniel.
Yeah,
which are two guys that were on The Big Short. They were part of the Mark Baum's group.
Wait, they were part of the actual Big Short in 2008.
Yeah. So The Big Short, the movie.
Yeah.
Steve Carell plays Mark Baum. He runs a small brokerage in Goldman Sachs, or a small team in Goldman Sachs hedge fund. And two of the guys that worked on that team, whose real life names are Vincent Daniel and Porter Collins, have been shorting SoFi in their new fund recently. And we just met them at the thing. They knew who I was because they follow the bulls to see who is wrong in their opinion. And they said, you know what? Like, we're going to close out of our shorts because you guys have such a massive macro tailwind, but they still don't think that SoFi is a real business. They think it's unprofitable. They think that they are paying us to make YouTube videos. And I told them, I said, here's my phone. Okay. Find the X comments. I was like, I'm reaching out to Anthony Noto every freaking week. He does not respond. This dude does not talk to me. Like, they don't even engage with us, and yet we're dying for attention from them, and they think that they're paying us.
Yeah,
I would love to be paid by them, but like, no, it's not happening. So
I get paid from Seeking Alpha, Koi Fin, and Mumu, and I got roasted by Vlad because of the Mumu deal.
Wait, really? What did he say,
bro? Like,
what did he say to you?
Well, he just thinks it's an inferior brokerage, but I actually I don't know. I was going back and forth. I was like, can you name things that are actually, and people can't name shit. They just think it's crowded. Like
that's valid though. That's very valid. It's crowded and complex.
Yeah, but what would you prefer? Robinhood Legends with no freaking features on it? Like I'd prefer crowded with lots of features that you can remove. You can just take off what you don't want.
So a new user goes on the standard app or platform. It's super easy to use, and as they grow and are more advanced, Legends is there at a click of a button. It's amazing. So
yeah, okay, but now add some features. You can't do shit. I'd rather have stuff than not have stuff.
But I took every moment possible to like whenever there's a Robinhood game, I was like, hey, this guy's sponsored by Mumu. And, and also like the best thing though, the best was, at the summit, Vlad asked, he's like, hey, how many of you guys use Robinhood? Every hand except for one went up. Guess who? That guy. And I was pointing at him like, this guy doesn't, get him out of here.
Well, that's also Robinhood's fault because they're not in Canada yet. So that's
yeah, it's not his fault. You would use Robinhood Legend, right, if you had access to it.
Yeah, no, hopefully they come to Canada, but they told me straight out like they don't have plans for it quite yet.
Yeah,
it's hard, dude. It's hard to get.
It's such a small market, and they said they need an individual license for each one of our provinces. So imagine running through the states, but you need 50 licenses.
Oh, I didn't know that. So that's the reason they're held up from it. Interesting.
Well, plus it's Canada, so.
Yeah. All right. This was awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming on the channel and talking. I'm pretty sure a lot of people wanted to know what the inside juice was of this summit. So appreciate you guys coming on. Tanner, congrats on SoFi. Roy as well. I've got a bit of SoFi, not as much as you guys, but SoFi options are doing pretty nice, and hopefully the momentum continues. And we'll keep going from there. So thank everybody. Roy's YouTube, new one in the chat. Tanner's Vlad interview. Please watch that as well. And you can subscribe to him on YouTube. He does a FinTech Frenzy show every single day. So he'll be live again today at 8:30 a.m. or p.m. And you guys can check him out and everything he has to talk about when it comes to SoFi.
Happy you're back, Amit.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you guys tomorrow on the Market Open. Good night, everyone.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.